Hello. I'm going to try to explain how to follow along on a score as best I can. I thought if I did this on video, it might be easier for somebody to look at it and look at it over and kind of check it at your own pace. Following a vocal score can be really confusing because there's so much information on the page. So hopefully maybe with a little explanation it'll be a little bit simpler for you. When we look at a page of choral music, we have the different voice parts, plus we also have the piano part on there. Now if you're singing in a soprano, alto, tenor, bass choir, that means that you're going to have, if you're singing, say, alto, you're going to have soprano information, tenor information, baritone information, or bass information that really doesn't pertain to you for your part. It's helpful to have it there. It's helpful when you're reading, and as you become more skilled in reading, you'll see why. Also, the piano information is going to be there. So it's a lot of things to have to sift through. And if you don't understand, though, the system, it can be very difficult. So let's take a look at some. We're going to start with a two-part piece of music right here. This is one that we're doing with the sixth graders right now. Now on this piece, we have, it's for a two-part choir. It starts off, like many pieces do, with a piano part. And a piano part always has this brace here, it's called. This little curved line that shows this part is just for piano. So these two lines are used to indicate the piano part. So we go across and the pianist plays this, and then we go down to the next two staves that are connected together. This is called a grand staff. And the piano plays across here, and then finally the singers come in here. Now in this case, all the singers are singing together, so I've highlighted this in yellow. But to show that this is the part for the choir, we have a little straight bracket here. And if you can look at that, that bracket indicates that's the part for the choirs. Again, down below we have this brace, and that indicates the part for the piano. So because we want the singers to sing and the piano to play, we've connected it with a fine line along this side to connect these three staves into what we call a system. Now those three lines are done. We go across the page, the piano playing, the singer singing. And when we get to the end of that, we drop down to the next system and we do the same thing. So here we have, again, vocal line for sopranos and altos, and then the right hand of the piano, left hand of the piano, and we go across. Notice there's only words up here for the vocalist, no words here for the piano. So sometimes people look down here for their part, but we wouldn't. It's pretty clear it's not there because there are no words to be sung. We get to the next page, and the very first system, again, system being any set of staves that are connected together and performed simultaneously. Now on this system, we move across the page. We should also know about measures. This system is divided into measures. The entire song is divided into measures, which are groups of beats. So from this line to this line is one measure. From this line over to here is another measure. And from this line to this line is another measure. Now, that means that system had three measures in it. And this is the first measure of this page. For the singers, this is the first measure. For the right hand of the piano, this is the first measure. So essentially, even though it's three sets of staves here, it's all still one measure. All of this is the same measure. All of this in the system. And then this is the second measure of that system. And this is the third measure of that system. Then we drop down to the next system. Now I've highlighted in a different way because what I did is I highlighted, we divided the two parts now for voice because we have a two-part choir. So now it's been divided where there's a soprano part, I put that in pink, there's an alto part here. So in this case, now we want three different layers really of music. We have a soprano layer, an alto layer, and let's call this one layer, all of the piano part. So we're starting off with only one layer of singing because only the sopranos sing, the altos have rests. Here the piano plays, so the piano is essentially accompanying just the sopranos. Same thing happens in the second measure of that system. When we go down to the bottom of the page, now we have soprano singing, alto still doing rests, and piano playing here. We go across, and then we go move to the next system on the next page. And when we go to the next system, we have soprano singing, the altos have begun to sing, and now we have the piano playing here. So these 4 staves make up the first measure of that system. The next 4 staves are in the second measure of the system, and then we drop down. On most pages, we have 3 systems. These 4 staves with 2 voice parts and piano make the first system. These 2 staves, voice parts, and with the staves below, make the second system. And this is the third system down here. So it means that if you are singing as a soprano, you're going to follow the pink line from left to right, the next pink line from left to right, and the next pink line from left to right, and then go to the next page. If you're singing the alto part, you'll sing the blue line, this now only in these pieces that I've highlighted, of course, the blue line here, and the blue line down here. The piano player is going to follow these 2 staves with the right hand and left hand, do them, drop down to the next system, to the 2 staves here, and 2 staves. So if you think your job is hard following your voice part, imagine the piano player that's got to be able to do 2 lines at once. So some of the terms that we have so far, we have piano brace, this marking, this curved line that shows that these 2 staves go together because they make up the piano part. We have a choral bracket, comes in later. Actually, it doesn't look like much of a choral bracket here, so let's look here. Here it's this heavy black line that connects these 2 staves to show that this is all to be performed together. And then we have a connecting line here that ties all of this together to create a system. Within the music, we also have measures where we group, in this case, groups of 4 beats together, and then we come to a bar line. It's the vertical lines that divide the music up into measure sections. In the piano part, the bar line goes all the way through the 2 staves, staff being the 5 lines on which we put the music, and in the vocal part it only goes through just the staff itself, it does not go between staves. On a 3-part piece of music, follows the exact same idea. Voice parts are always arranged from the highest voice will be highest on the page, and the lowest voice will be lowest on the page. Here we start off a piece that the 8th or 7th graders are doing. We start with just what we call a grand staff for piano, where we have a treble clef and a bass clef staff. So the piano part plays for 3 measures. Here's the first measure, here's the second, here's the third. And then it drops down here where we have the soprano and altos are sharing a staff, pretty common, and it tells us here, sopranos and altos are sharing this staff. And down here we have the baritone part, and they're the only ones in the bass clef. So again, notice this choral bracket shows that those 2 staves are for the voices. Down below the voices, we have the brace again to show that these 2 staves are for piano. Notice no text down there because the pianist doesn't sing. Sopranos are the highest, so we find them highest on the page. So when sopranos and altos share a staff, the higher note is the soprano note and the lower note is the alto note. Baritones are down here. Again, the rest of the rules are the same. We sing once across each system. So the piano played, then we go across the system here, and then we go across this system here. That's for sopranos or altos. So sometimes sopranos and altos will have their own staff each. Sometimes they share a staff like this, with the upper notes being sopranos, lower notes being the altos. Again, some terms. Choral bracket, brace, indicating the piano part. Here we have a bar line, the vertical line here that shows that this is the first measure of that piano part there. A bar line here to show that this is the end of the first measure of altos or baritones resting. Baritones have a bass clef. Sopranos and altos are read in the treble clef. And there's their bar line to show the end. So all the bar lines will line up exactly, because the first measure of the soprano part ends here, sopranos and altos. The first measure of the baritone part ends here. First measure of the piano part ends here. And I think that's probably enough to get you started. Hopefully this will help a little bit.